Hey there, I'm Lance.
And I'm Jeremy.
And this is Hard to Master, where we're going to take a look at Daimyo.
The Rebirth of the Empire.
There you go, you got the full name in.
By Labat de Joux.
And so this is a game in which you are going to be doing just about every mechanic that exists in the board gaming world.
There's
or at least that's what it feels
There's
like.
Quite a few.
Yeah, this is an area control, set collection, resource management, some even tableau building a little bit. There's a lot going on in this game, but we're going to cover the overview of it, and then we're going to share our thoughts on this game and what we think about it. But first, as we did in our last video, we're going to give you guys our ratings right here up front. And so I'm going to go first.
Yeah, I'm going to let you go first.
This last time.
I think that'd be better because I think it's always good when the score goes up in the game, not down. So
for me, folks, I'm going to just let you know that I did enjoy certain aspects of this game. There were a few things here and there that I found to be quite innovative and quite different from what I experience in most board games. This is a game that has so many things going on. You look at this board, we'll take an overhead look at it, and you can see that it is a fairly busy board. You've got lots of icons, lots of tracks, lots of spaces. This is worker placement as well. I forgot about that. There's a lot going on here, and
I wouldn't say worker placement. It's
I guess it's not so much worker
placement. It's more
placement.
An area control aspect.
It is an area control aspect. You're
just
right.
placing the worker to control. You don't pick them up and move them.
That's right.
Other than an ability here or there.
But folks, the things that I like about this game, I feel get outweighed by the complexity for this game. This game is fairly complex. I think it's rated as in the 3s on BGG, which I feel like it probably ought to even be a little higher than that, quite honestly. But for me, the complexity outweighs the fun that I feel I have while playing this game. For me, it's more work than it is the reward from that work. Now, if I were better at this game, perhaps I would have a better opinion on that certain aspect of it, because I'll tell you, I stink at this game. I am not any good at this game whatsoever. So take that for take that for what it is when I tell you my rating on this game. But that all being said, I think this game probably lands at about a 7.1, 7.2.
Okay. I mean, I was getting worried for a minute. I thought you were going to be below 7.
So let me say real quick the things that I do like about it, and then we'll get in deeper detail when we talk about our actual opinion on the game. The things that I do like about it: the set collection is a fun experience. Trying to get around the board, picking up the different relic pieces is quite fun. I really enjoy the dice selection / action selection, and how that mechanic is kind of combined together, because that's really innovative, and how it works with your player board is it's quite fun trying to figure out how to do that. So I do really enjoy that aspect, and that's why the game still lands in the 7s for me. It's just everything combined is a bit too much for me in the overall experience. So I'm going to stop talking now, and I'm going to let you tell us what you think about this one and your rating on it.
Well, there's a lot of stuff going on. It is a point salad game, and we've hinted at some of the mechanics. I'll go over a little bit more that I think is going on in the review. I enjoyed it. I do enjoy games by Labat de Joux. Netatonka is another one I really enjoy. This one is a little bit more complex. As far as my rating, I'm probably going to say it's right around the 7.8.
Okay.
Just inches below the 8, just because it's not something I'm going to play all the time.
Right. Yeah.
But I will enjoy it when I do play it. I do like that you have different things and how they've made it available where everything production-wise is nice, or if you have the upgraded boards, things like that. I really like the card mechanic and dice selection action. And I'll hit on that just real quick before we go into everything. But if I take a red die, I'm required to do a red action. Or I am required to, or I can use it here to get some rice. In addition to that red die going in one of these actions, like I said, we'll real quickly overview in a minute for you, is if I have these cards, I really want to play cards that have the same value up here. It can either be one single die that has that value, or if I placed a 2 earlier, a green 2 earlier, well, now I have 5, so I can add those to do this. This mechanic feels similar to what Gugong does, where you're placing a card to go to certain actions to do the action itself. But it's tweaked in a way that it requires more to it. It's not just like a baseline, it's like an advanced level of that mechanic.
Yeah.
So I'm gonna go with the 7-8.
Okay.
Like I told Lance earlier, I said I got to play 2 more games that came out in 2021, and that will tell me if this stays. I think it'll be on the top 10 of 2021, but I need to play those 2 and see if it can inch itself in there. So,
well, there you have it. That's our ratings on the game. We like to give them up to you up front. So let's get into a little bit of a turn overview and how this game works just a bit. This isn't going to be a full how to play. If you're wanting that, we suggest looking at some other videos because they do exist. But this is just simply turn overview, and then we're going to share our thoughts on the game. So, Jeremy, you got a really busy board here. You can simplify it by saying there are different islands, and all the islands generally are pretty much the same.
Yeah.
So give us a brief overview of what you're doing here.
Yeah. So the rule book is actually fairly well written, and finding things is easy, just like a how to play video. So basically what you're doing in this game, and we're going to slide these die over, is, as far as the area control aspect, you're trying to move your influence up. So if I have a governor, these are your governors. For every governor you have in a region, you're going to gain 2 influence. Every radio tower, which can go in the same spot, you can't get walked out by another person's worker, or it can go in a separate spot. It doesn't gain you a resource, it gains you influence. So this radio tower would gain me another 2 influence here, where I may be battling another person for that influence to have area majority, which will gain me points over here. Every round you're going to gain more points if you have majority. If you tie, you'll split points and round down, and then whoever's second highest majority in each region will gain the lower amount here at the silver banner. Every round it'll increase, except for round 2 is the same, but then it increases, and you can gain more points from that. Now, you don't want to just focus on that. That wasn't my main strategy going around. I played as the blue faction, and with the blue faction, I want to say it's techno faction, I don't remember. But with the blue faction and every other faction that on your board, you're going to have a special asymmetric ability. I never once got to use it. I almost went last every round, and so getting high value die was very tough, and I didn't focus on it. I just tried to hit those level 3 cards to use them more and more and draw again. And on the board, so if I'm doing my turn, the main action I use here, and I'll start with it because it's what essentially gave me a 25 point run and helped me stay in the game, even going third or last, is right here. When I place a die, again, the value that you place there doesn't affect the action that you take. It's only going to affect your ability to play one of the cards in your deck, and you'll start with 3 cards. Each faction has their own, or house, clan, has their own 3 cards. They're all a 3, 5, or 7. But with mine, I was seeing I couldn't get certain dice, so the idea I have is, well, I can use this die here. It will allow my scavenger, who is this guy, scavenger will move, hence this icon here, it moves to another region, and it will pick up one of these relic tiles. And Lance had talked about the set collection aspect. So that was the main thing that, in addition to looking at other mechanics that I could do, is I went kind of a little heavy on that because I knew I had this card here, and I knew that I could move, pick up one, and you do it twice. But in addition to that, if you have coins, you can come over here to the black market and buy one. So if I see that there's a 1, a 2, and a 4 on the board, and there's a 3, and there's a 3 over in the market, and I'm allowed to, if I have a 7 die, go and pick up an extra, well, I've completed one whole relic right there in one turn, which for everybody else was taking 2 turns or 3 turns to get the relics they needed. And you're limited over here by your track, which you're going to want to move up. But on your building board here, which I know we're kind of jumping around, but you do have this building board, and when you place these buildings out, you do gain the associated benefit. And I don't have the tiles out to make it easy, but what's right here are your standard building benefits.
And you do that by taking this action right here.
Yeah, you do this. If you were to place a red die here, you could do the building action. Well, by placing the building action, I would not only get this on the board to either gain influence or gain resources later when I do the production action, I will gain, basically by putting these out here, when I take these actions, I get a bonus action. Right. So I hit this one first and this one first. This one allowed me to move my storage up faster because there's only 3 blue die. I didn't realize that at the beginning. There's less blue die, so if you don't get it because you're last in the first round or third and you don't know that, well, you're not going to be able to move up your storage. Well, you're limited on your relics because you can only have this many, and each completed set is going to count towards that relic limit. And so getting this out is nice because now every time I think I put it here, every time I do a building action, well, I'm also increasing this. I never took a blue die the whole game. I think I took one that I had to, and I put it up here, or I might have used it just to get the helmet. I think I used it last round. Nobody wanted them.
Which the helmet is the first player token.
Yeah.
Or, well, it lets you
headphones.
It lets you pick who's going to be the first player. Yeah, you might not pick yourself.
Yeah, you could choose somebody else.
Yeah.
But at that point, it didn't matter because it was the last round, so I just forgot it even was points and just did it to gain an additional point up here.
So I think this is the last action that we haven't explained just yet, Jeremy. So what is this one?
The last action here is to recruit. And by recruiting, I can either place a governor or a shadow. And shadows are like assassins. They can go and they can remove another player's governor. And you'll place them at these areas on the board. The first person there, I mean, you could go here and get no coins, but that would be foolish. So you would place one here. And when I place one here, I'm going to get the 3 coins. I'm also going to gain 1 influence on the track. And then I would remove another player's governor. I would remove another player's governor. I know this is blue. Another player's governor. Well, their influence is going to decrease. Yours will go up 1 still. So that's a good way. One of our friends, 2 of them actually went heavy on shadows early, which left them with 0 shadows at the end. And
because it's important to note, it's a one-time.
You don't get them back.
You don't get them back.
You get 3.
You get 3, and that's it.
I think I only used 1 because I didn't have the resources, the rice at the end to do more. But I did the one that I needed to help gain.
And on that, it is important to note there is a progression as far as your cost to put these workers out. You pay 1 rice at the beginning, but for each person you put, you're gonna increase until you get down here at the bottom.
You pay the 3,
where you have to pay 3, and you're stuck there until you pay 2 coins, and you can reset. So,
and so placing governors is nice because I can place it. I can place it here and. Not only will I get the influence in the region, but then if I produce, then I'm going to gain the resources where my governors are and where a techno farm is. So if the techno farm is here, buildings go in the squares, governors go in these circles, shadows can only go in this area. They can't go on the other spaces. And then your scavenger, he never goes on any spaces. He just goes to a region. So like I said, when they move to another region to gain a relic tile, they move around, and they have to move before they can get one. But like I said, we're just doing a quick overview, so not going over exactly everything that they can do. But basically, you can increase your storage. If you're over here, you can increase storage, draw another card, which is good because it does have a little bit of deck building.
There is deck building.
You're going to and we're kind of jumping up here, but when you get to this part at the end of round phase, you're going to be able to buy cards, which you're going to be able to draw every time you see this icon, or at the end you're also going to draw 1 card. So that's what this symbol does. This will allow you to
use one of these tiles up here.
So you're basically asking for help from the villagers. You would take one of these benefits and then flip it over, so the next person to do that is going to get a different help from the villagers. And the last thing that they do is they get the first player marker, which they can give to somebody else. Up here, it can only trade hands. The first player to take a blue die gets to do that. Like I said, your relic storage is limited by going up here. These green die, you're gaining production like any other game that has
resources for wherever your governors are.
And the techno farm. And then this, like we said, is moving on the board. You can do it twice. But like I said, if you have the right card, or you have this building upgrade here, I can't remember. This building upgrade here, and you've got it right there. Well, now you're drawing 3 or 4 easy.
Yeah.
Maybe even, I had 5 at one point, and that is big because your in-game points here.
Yeah, let's get this out here.
The in-game points are kind of big because it's a very tight game throughout everything you're doing because of this right here. If you're winning maybe 1 or 2 and you're in second in a couple, these scores are very close most of the game. It's at the end whenever Lance is looking at your board and going, oh man, you're going to get 25 points from relics. I'm only getting 7 or 12. And then, oh yeah, you got your buildings too. You've got 2 of each. Well, there's another 6 points.
There's a ton of in-game points in this one.
As usual, it seems like I am hit or miss on the cards. I had 3 cards the whole game, no money, so I wasn't worried about that. But I've noticed up here I've got 30, 40 points in addition to leftover resources and stuff. So, like I said, area control is big in this because you want to have influence in a region.
To get up these tracks.
And people will knock you out, and it's kind of take that at times.
It can be a vicious game, for sure.
And it's not bad. I mean, it was kind of funny. I was like, oh, why'd you do me? You got, what are you doing? Yeah. And then you just have to find a way to get in there or move to another one and just try to get 1 or 2. Don't try to maximize every single region. Look at every one of your options for an action.
Right.
And try to control a couple.
Yeah.
Don't try to stress yourself out on this because you can get more points than just 5 in every region, which you're not going to get every region anyways.
And that's
if you do, you're playing people that aren't.
And that's one thing that I do like about the game is that for every kind of roadblock you run into, there is an answer out there for you to kind of, focus and pour yourself into to try and maybe redeem and get some points. If you're struggling to get up on a track, well, then don't fight that losing battle. You can go for the set collection, or perhaps you can focus on the cards.
Well, we didn't even say with the set collection, when you complete a relic, it goes in here, stays in your storage, but then you're going up on whatever the color of the relic is, you're going up on that track. So you could put it on the 1, but that would make no sense. So you'd put it on the 3. Well, now I just gained 3 more influence. Right. There's a good chance if I'm getting all these relics that's helping me battle for the region. So it's not necessarily where can I always put my people on the board to have control. Sometimes it's being sneaky and just going to collect your different relics, and then next thing you know, you're in second place.
Now, real quick, I do want to explain with the dice. There are 4 of the red, 4 of the green, and only 3 of the blue. And you roll these dice at the beginning of every round. The first player does, and that's what's going to determine. Don't do this. Roll it off the board.
Place them in order. Yes, that's.
And so you do want to note that there's going to be 1 fewer blue dice than all the other colors. And so when it comes to your picking of the dice, you want to keep that in mind because, like you were saying, Jeremy,
I didn't even realize it until around the end of round 1. I was like, oh wait, there's not another blue one.
And you didn't really do blue actions throughout much of the game.
Which was fine because, like I said, it's all about where's the roadblock and where can I kind of detour around. So like I said, for me, it was to build a building, place that tile where I'm going to increase that storage because I knew I wanted to build a few times. Well, that's an easy way to move up that track.
Yeah.
Because I knew the blue was going to be a tough die to get. and you have to choose.
And for other players, like we mentioned to you guys, they were heavy in the shadows, and so they were very much take that. I'm gonna, take out your guy and create conflict. That was a play style that you can absolutely do in this game. For me, it was all about the set collection. It was all about trying to get the resources that I needed to be able to put out my guys as much as I could. But again,
I felt
I
like
stunk at this game, so that might not be what you.
When we played, you were heavy on recruiting, and I think that's what kind of hurt you is you were, and everybody saw that you were putting people out, and you started to catch up a little bit on the relics, but at first you were heavy in recruiting, and that's not bad because you do gain the influence,
gain presence in the area.
But if you got a bunch of take that people that definitely don't want you close to them, they're gonna remove your influence, and then what are you left with? So it's all about. There's a roadblock, like you said, but where's the detour? And can I move a tile that lets me do... Because, like I said, I had a hard time getting the die I wanted. If I'm last and I take a red die and I wanted to do both red actions... Well, there's 5 reds, sorry. And 5 greens. So you see there's more.
Yeah.
But there's a good chance I may not... And it happened a bunch. I couldn't get the second red die, so I had to go with... Okay, well... Let me get production and I'll be ready for next round. So when I do build, I can build as many as I want. And so that's another way around it.
What you're getting,
limitation.
What you're getting at there, folks, is one of the things that I disagreed with the game about, and that was how strong it felt that the player order was in this game. If you're going first, you do get first selection on the dice, which is nice, but you're not getting to see how the board is reacting to what you're doing until it's too late. If you're going last, obviously that kind of flip-flops. You're not getting first selection. However, you're getting to kind of formulate a strategy based off of what's happening in front of you, and I feel like that is a huge advantage in this game. I feel like it is a lot better to go further in the turn order than it is in the first than the first part of the turn order. Because even if you run out of the options for what you're selecting with your dice, you're given that opportunity to react to the roadblock. Using the same analogy here, if you're going in front of the roadblock, you don't get an opportunity to react. Now, you do get the opportunity to kind of influence that, but if you're not a strong player and if you haven't been playing very strong leading into that, your opportunity to do that's probably pretty limited. You're probably playing catch up. And so...
I think everybody can see my smirk I'm giving, and
I know you disagree with me,
but it's area control. And think about every area control. You said you even like Rising Sun a little bit better than this,
which I'm not a huge fan of Rising Sun.
And the thing is even in Scythe, it doesn't matter. Area control, whoever has last choice, they may not have the best actions, but they do get to see the board, and they do. And I told you that during the game. I told you. If you go last, you get it. But the thing is in Rising Sun, if you take the tiles, you get to choose the best options. What's left is sometimes crap.
Sure.
You don't want to hire. You don't want to pay for a monster. You want to. Don't want to.
I just felt that, and I know I'm kind of maybe.
And if there's no two red die left though, Lance, no one can put people out on the board.
But so let me get to that. Because I know I'm kind of contradicting what I said earlier about I really enjoyed this aspect of the dice selection, action selection, and how that intertwines. But at the same time, my strategy can be completely thrown out the window, all because of how this plays out. And so if let's say I'm third in turn order, and the 2 people in front of me take 2 red dice. Well, the likelihood that I'm going to be able to do 2 red actions the rest of that turn is next to nil. Because if I take one, I know the guy behind me is going to take another, and then the likelihood of that one.
That to me.
Yeah, I did. But my point with that being is that turn order is so important that it's going to likely jack with your plans, and you do have to kind of overcome that. You do have to, again, find a way to get around that roadblock. It's just not always an easy process.
But in like I said, you can tell Lance and I, we don't always agree on it. We don't, and our 2021 lists are going to be so different. But whoever's first player gets to pick who's first. So it even negates that, as if you wanted it and you got a blue die because you got one of the three, you can possibly, and you had it once and you gave it to me, so that you could be last.
I would have more appreciated a rotating first player. I would have more appreciated that, because at least that means it's happening to every player, and it's not about who gets to do the blue action first. Because if I'm going third again, let's say, and the two guys or gals in front of me take a blue die, well, then I don't get to determine turn order, and that can happen every round. I mean, theoretically,
I took a blue die in the last round. That's it. But I knew I think you just had, like I said, there's a roadblock and you've got to find the detour.
Sure,
and
yeah, absolutely.
I feel like this was added in here to make this action have a little bit more weight to it. Adding the first player, first person to get it has that. It gives you more incentive to go get the blue die to raise that. But I think sometimes, because you took this a lot.
Here, let's get. I don't know if they can see what you're pointing at there.
You took the first player action with the blue die a lot.
I did.
So you and Jacob y'all picked every time.
But I'm gonna be very honest and say
you regret
that
it.
I absolutely regretted taking first player. If I could go back and replay every bit of this game
next time,
I will absolutely choose to go last before going first in this game, because I do feel like it is so much better to react to the board than to be the person who's trying to influence what everybody else is able to do, because it seems like it's such a small advantage to say, well, I'm going to take this red die, and now I'm much more likely to cause everybody else to have to take red dice. Most of the time, you're probably going to take a red die anyhow. Now, if you take the blue die, all you're really doing is saying, well, now I control how this plays out. I don't feel like that's...
No, I mean,
you do get other benefits.
You can take a relic tile. Maybe you need that one. Well, that can gain your influence right there. If you get the right one and you complete a relic.
Absolutely. Yeah.
I think that there's a lot to this. I think that they just added this to give it one more little oomph, and it's not just a rotating. It makes it a little bit more strategic. And when we already have, 7, 8 different mechanisms, what's one more with first player? I mean, it's not a big deal. I'm fine with it.
Let's throw something else.
Like I said, I felt like, because I never went second. I went first once, which you gave me. I went third every time except for once, and the one time I went last, I felt like that was the hardest round. I think being second or third is great. I think even being first that one round, I think you have to pick and choose. I don't think you can just go heavy first player and picking who's first player. I mean, that's the thing is, not only do you not have to be first player, you can be second every round. Well, then you're like right in the middle.
Yeah.
I remember you or Jacob said that they didn't like picking to be third, and that didn't make sense. But I was third or fourth every round except for the fourth round, and I felt like it wasn't. I felt like first was still fine because I knew, well, I can, if I want to do 2 green die, I can do that. If I want to split it up, I can do that. And if I see a relic out there that I want, and I know I can get all of them, well, I don't want somebody to go before me and take that relic because it's going to give me, these points. Plus, I can put the influence, which helps with, and those influence can't come off. That's what I like about. If you build a building, it cannot come off the board.
Yeah.
If you place a relic influence token, it cannot come off. So
buildings
knowing that you're not going to put people. And I mean, you want people because then they give you resources, because the techno farm doesn't give you influence. So if you just build farms, you're gaining resources just like your governor would. And that one governor can only, it's rare that the same person, like everybody's going to attack the same person's governor and they have nobody on the board. I mean, if your friends hate you that much, but that's usually not going to happen. The techno farms, they go on there, they're going to get influence. You may be able to move them occasionally based on a card or another reason, but you can't just move them. So once you get that on there, your influence for the building is strong, so you may want to go heavy buildings. Yeah. If you just put out a bunch of people, like any area control game, you're going to be a target. I mean, that's what it is.
You're
I think that's what
assassinated.
I think that's what you got to know, and you got to know that you're going to be roadblocks. You're not going to have every action you want to do. You are limited to 3 actions in a round, except for bonus actions. And you're not going to get many resources unless you upgrade to get a couple more, and you have people on the board. So you can be roadblocked so many ways because it is a point salad and there's so much you can do. But I really like, and I don't feel like going at a different turn made me way behind. I felt like with any area control game, if you're reading the board and you don't just focus on one thing,
sure.
and point salad too, in point salad you can't go all in on just one thing. You've got to balance to a point.
Diversify.
And have one thing that just you put just a little bit more interest in. And with me, like I said, y'all were leaving the green die out there. Everybody was taking the blue and everybody was taking red. Well, that's fine. So what am I going to do? I see 4 relics. Let me just go take, or 3 of them. Let me go take those. Mm-hmm. And I'm just going to go with that. But if y'all were taking relics, I would have gladly liked the red die. I would have been more influenced.
And I like we've been saying, folks, there's so many different things with this game that you can look at it in one light and say, all of these elements just work really well together, and where I feel like I do hit that roadblock, I have the avenue to go over here and do this.
You gotta find it though. It's tough.
You gotta find it. And if you're the type of player who likes striving for your points, this is a point salad, but I wouldn't say that this is an abundant, the points are in abundance.
No,
you got to strive for your points in this game.
I think I had like 74 points.
Yeah.
So so you're not getting 300 points.
Right, you're not getting 300 points like you might in some other point salad type games.
Everybody crossed 50, so
yeah.
It's not like you just scored 20 points like a Western Legends or something. You're scoring a bunch of points, and it's just not Tapestry or
no. But with this one, guys, if you're the type of player who does enjoy that struggle, does really enjoys
a tightness,
mm-hmm. I'm having to kind of put my focus in 8 different areas, then you're probably going to enjoy this game. It's gonna work real well with you. Mm-hmm. If you're somebody who's not quite like that, who wants things to be a little more focused, streamlined, and I can really kind of pour myself into this strategy, and I'm not going to have, again, you're going to always experience something kind of shaking your strategy in a game. That's what makes a game fun a lot of times. But if you're somebody who doesn't want to experience that with just every single little action, then you're going to have a harder time with this game. So kind of depends on your play style, as always with a lot of board games. This is an interesting one because of how many different things are going on with it. We didn't even really touch much on the deck building aspect of it. That's a whole nother thing. There are in-game or objectives that you're trying to accomplish first. I think that was a new thing that they added in.
In most videos on the game, if you do look it up, that's why I said you want to read the rulebook, because there will be, I think, 4 green gold cards out. They're a little bit shorter, easier to accomplish, like this one, construct 4 techno farms. When you do that, you'll gain, first person will gain the points here. A second person can do it if it's a 3 and 4 player game and gain this. But you also may have an extra bonus that you get for doing it first.
Yeah.
As far as the orange ones, constructing 8 buildings is kind of tough.
It's really hard to do.
That did not happen in our game. These are more long-term goals that you may or may not see at the end of the game, but they're worth 5 points. So that's another
thing.
Another mechanic, in-game bonuses or gold cards.
And, like we've been saying, this is a game that they put in a lot. You're getting the whole gamut of board gaming in one box. And if that sounds really cool to you, then you probably like this game. If that sounds overwhelming to you, then you do want to be aware of that before you kind of get into this game. So,
and it says 90 minutes up to 4 players. I think it's more about 2 hours.
I think it is too.
2:15, and that's on our first play. So I can see it getting a little bit quicker, maybe maybe at 2 hours for 4. 90 minutes would be...
You got to be expert level, I think, to really
tough.
get that quick at it.
It's not that the game doesn't have a bunch of AP in it, even when we played. It's just...
There's a lot of choices.
There's a lot going on. Yeah. So if somebody blocks you with taking a die, well,
now you got to
fly. You got to quick and figure it out. But
well, there you have it, guys. That is Daimyo. Excuse me. You'd think I'd know that after watching Boba Fett. But yeah, that's this game is quite a lot going on, like we've been saying, and I'm maybe a little lower than you are on it. But I think it's still a pretty solid game. So
yeah, I mean, I think you might like it a little bit more if we play again and you try some new strategies.
I think I want to throw this out here too, and I feel like this about a lot of area control games. The player count matters. If there's not as many players, there's not as much conflict, and there's not as much that I feel like I have to...
Well, there's going to be less places on the board.
Sure,
depending on player count.
It's not as tight.
Different goals and different things like that. So it's going to change it up a little bit. But I would say I don't think this game needs an expansion. I think it's got everything it needs in it. Usually I like expansions.
What could they add?
I can't fit anything else in this box. I threw out the insert, sleeved the cards, and made some of my own personal upgrades. And
should be like
I can't fit anything else.
Should be like a push your luck element to it. Like
it's good
if you
where
bust
it is.
and an earthquake happens and it kills off your guys or something.
It's good where it is. Don't ruin it. Maybe miniature card expansion for new goals or something, but it does not need anything else. This is...
I don't know what
everything in the box is what it needs to be.
Yeah.
It's enjoyable. It is a lot. You said it's complex. It is complex. I don't think it's a Tricerian or Minecraft game.
No.
I think, or even a Lacerda, I don't think it's that type of level. Maybe like a escape plan Lacerda, one of his easier ones.
It's not complex in the nature where I just feel like
there's just I don't know what I'm looking at. And you can see the board's busy. A lot of people complain about the board, the theming. A friend of mine, he is like, I think I like Bitoku better because just from the art style, it looks more Japanese. And I'm like, well, I think Daimyo's 50% Japanese, 50% futuristic. And I'm fine with it. That's one of the things that drew me to it. I do like the theming of it. Does it make sense? Probably not. But
I'll be honest.
This dude right here with the sideways cap, I'm fine with it. He's a scavenger. He's, I think of like Chappie or something, You
got your ninja assassin and your samurai.
Shadow, yeah. I mean, look, he's got that's a bike. That's a bike handles. That's not, I don't know. It looks like bike handles.
Not exactly sure what's going on
But
here.
The theming is different. And if you want something different, like I said, they put out a different theme. Le Boîte de Jeu. And I like I said, Netatonka was a different one. Now Awari's kind of the same, kind of native theming, but in a different way. That's straight Native American.
Mm-hmm.
And it's, or indigenous. And it's a good game, and it's I like that they throw in new mechanics. Like I said, the card mechanic
it's innovative.
Is a complex Gugong card style, and I do like that innovativeness that they throw into games. And I'm always interested in whatever campaigns that they put out and games that are coming. So I hear they have a new one coming. I'm kind of keeping my ear to the ground.
Well, there you guys have it. Hope you enjoyed this video. Let us know your thoughts on this game, and let us know your thoughts on this video. If you have other thoughts and you feel like we're wrong on some things, or if you agree with us, please let us know. Put it down below in the comments. If you like this video, please give it a thumbs up. Hit that subscribe button. Hit the bell so that you can be notified of all of our new videos that we put out. And
if you have any other games, like I said, this is... we're trying to find other games that maybe aren't the most hot and popular that have come out somewhat recently or maybe in the past that don't have a video for 10 years or something. So this is one that I've had for months now, and we thought it'd be a good one to bring and put some more content out for. So if you have anything that maybe you haven't seen a video of, or I know Power Grid has outdated videos and stuff, things like that, let us know. We may be able to, film something for you and give you a fresh new look at it.
All right, I'm Lance.
And I'm Jeremy.
And this has been Hard to Master, where we take a look at games that are
Hard to master.
We'll catch you next time, guys.
See ya.